Robert Plank Show, episode 208, Authority Selling. Win the Zero Moment of Truth game and use your authority positioning assets to get more business with Mike Saunders. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Robert Plank Show, where we talk about building an online business and making money. Our guest today is Mike Saunders, and he's an authority marketing strategist, which means he helps business owners build their authority and expertise to enhance their competitive advantage and crush their competition by helping them become an Amazon best-selling author without writing a word, using his proprietary 3-hour authority system. And the result is a spectacular authority positioning portfolio, which is the solution for opening more doors to closing more business. I'm looking forward to unpacking some of this and hearing about where it goes. So, Mr. Mike, how are things today?
Hey, doing awesome, Robert. Thanks for having me on.
I am glad that you're on it. So we mentioned as we kind of got you ramped up here that what your focus and your skill is this thing called authority selling. So could you tell us about that authority selling and authority positioning and what that is exactly?
Yeah, back in the old days, like a year or two ago, because things move so quick, right? You think about marketing and, well, you got to market on the internet. You got to do branding and all of these things. And then you can put bullet points under that, like SEO and social media and pay-per-click and all of that. Well, I have discovered that all of those things work, and I would submit to you that they might work a little bit less these days because of all the noise, right? All the competition. But this authority positioning and authority selling approach will amplify all of that. So everything that you're doing right now will work even better when you have this authority positioning process in place and you're using that in your sales process. And, I work with small business owners / entrepreneurs / sales professionals. It doesn't matter what you want to call yourself because we all sell something. We've got to sell our friends on what movie we want to see this weekend, right? Because it's like, oh, I want to see this and I want to. So we're all selling something. So if you can do that from a position of authority. Now, this authority positioning doesn't really work in personal relationships, at all as well. But it's a matter of establishing yourself as an expert and an authority by becoming an educator and an advocate for your target audience. Done. That's it. Now, you can call that marketing. You can call that content marketing. But in reality, if you know succinctly and clearly who your target audience is and what you provide for them, your competitive advantage, and then you start thinking, now, how do I articulate that to get their attention? And that's where the old way of, well, let's write a blog post, let's do a tweet, let's do a ad campaign. All of those things, again, work great. But when you can then get yourself elevated to the position of an authority or an expert in their eyes, and frankly, in your eyes as well, now all of a sudden they're kind of cocking their head a little bit and perking up and going, let's see what they've got to offer. So that's the philosophy. And when you can use that in, your selling, whether it's online or email or whatever you're doing, then that becomes a way to enhance your sales process because your message is seen a little bit or a lot more effectively.
Awesome. So lots of stuff to unpack there already. So first of all, it sounds like people need to know who their target audience is, and people need to know, what their competitive advantage is, so that way they can sort of fit into that. And that's one thing. But then they need to be seen as an authority and an expert to sort of stand out. And you mentioned a couple of times there that, well, there was the old way of doing things, right? The old way was making a blog post, but it sounds like it doesn't work as well because there's more competition. So if you're saying that like SEO or blogging is sort of antiquated or out of date or not relevant as much as it used to be, what should people be doing if they're just starting out then?
I would say even before you start engaging into things that I provide, because it could be too soon if you're quote unquote just starting out. The very first thing is you've got to know, your target audience. If you're a car dealer, let's say, as an example, your target audience is not anyone who drives a car. Because that's too broad. You should now, there's always cases for, I'm just a used car dealer and I've got a bunch of good, used cars. But the truly powerful businesses are the ones that sell, Ford, Mercedes or whatever. Now, in our business, what is it that you do? And could you really niche down and find an industry that you really resonate with and you target that? Does not mean that you never clients from another source. It just means on this specific marketing campaign that you're going to start off with, you're going to be the go-to person for X industry, X target audience. And then you just start crafting your message. And in crafting that message, you need to be that expert and authority on solving the problem of that target audience. That becomes your competitive advantage. Easy. Now, are you an expert and authority? Yeah. And I don't care if you have 2 days experience or 2 decades of experience. Why are you the authority? Because you know more than that target audience does. And so many times I get that question and I say, well, here's something to think about. Have you gotten an inquiry from someone recently? Yeah. What was their question? And they mentioned the question. And I said, well, what did you answer? And they described their answer. I said, done. You're the expert, because they didn't know the answer to that. So in that moment of time, you're the expert. Now, when you hear expert and authority, I'm not talking about nationwide celebrity status, with cameras and paparazzi. I'm talking about developing your authority positioning platform in the sphere of influence in the ponds you fish in, right? And you can be that big fish in that little pond. And then as you develop and grow, that pond gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So to me, that's the biggest point, is where you start is get that message out there and think of it like this. What is the one solution to the problem you can solve for your target audience? And when you can start articulating that, you become the authority. And then the question is, how do you get it out there so that you're seen as the authority? And, we can cover that as we move forward too.
Awesome, and I'm excited to do that. And what I liked about what you just sort of explained for us there is just choose just the one, find the one solution to the problem you can solve. Don't try to solve all these different solutions. And so you're explaining some of these areas where people might be sort of maybe spinning their wheels or working too hard or doing a lot of things that aren't paying off. And it sounds like a lot of different ways to sort of go wrong. And so can you sort of explain how your authority selling idea sort of like relates to your book? Because it sounds like there are like a lot of ways people can go wrong. Like you mentioned, like, well, be like a big fish in a small pond and stuff like that. So could you sort of explain how this authority selling idea like relates to your book, and sort of tell us what's in your book to help people to solve this problem?
Yeah, sure. So let's just pick as an example, if were a chiropractor. So that's a business owner, that's an entrepreneur, that they provide a valid service. And sometimes people will Google, look, your city, Denver chiropractors, right? But then there's a lot of noise, as we know. There's a lot of things you can do to stand out from that noise. But if you can back up about 3 steps before people start Googling, cheapest Denver chiropractor or best Denver chiropractor, what are they doing before that? And there's something that you and your listeners can do right now, which is Google ZMOT, which stands for Zero Moment of Truth. And you'll find this free PDF download book written by an ex-Google employee, which is spectacular. And the gist of that book is, the old moment of truth was when you walked into that car dealership and bought a car, and then you drove it off the lot and you kind of were like, okay, is the car reliable? Were they friendly to me? Or I walked into that chiropractor's office and got a good greeting, got a good adjustment, and the price was good. That's the moment of truth. Did they deliver? Well, now these days, the zero moment of truth is before you get to that point. Before you go to that car dealership, you research your models of cars, and you know exactly what you want, the price you're willing to pay, and you walk in and go, got it? If you do, fine. If you're not, I'm out of here. Same with the chiropractor. You look online at their reviews, their reputation, their price points, their articles they've written, and it's like, okay, I'm going here educated. That's the zero moment of truth. And it's kind of like laying breadcrumbs out. And you're laying breadcrumbs out slash, the breadcrumbs means I call them authority positioning assets. So that might be a blog post. And what should the blog post be about? It should be about you solving that one problem that your target audience has. So let's use a chiropractor as an example. The 3 critical mistakes that people make within 24 hours of having a car accident. Ooh, wait a minute here, or it might be, that nagging neck pain might not just be from, fill in the blank, the car accident or tech neck, with your, devices. And if you can start putting these things out there on by like blog posts, and the titles are kind of these long word keywords, long tail keywords. So now all of a sudden, people, before they even start to look for your service, they're Googling around for their problem, and they're looking and searching, and they're seeing things like a blog post. Or let's now transition into the authority positioning that I would provide. And here's a perfect example. If you were looking for that chiropractor, and you start Googling around for different things, and it's like, oh, look, here's this guy that's like, walk-in discount, $10 cash today. Or you see this person that goes, hey, Dr. So-and-so recently interviewed on blah, blah, blah podcast on the 3 critical mistakes that you make once you've had a car accident, and you were just in a car accident, and you're like, dang, I'm going to listen to that because this guy's is being interviewed. So even just right there, Robert, which would you feel more confident in clicking on? Someone going coupon, coupon, buy, 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 or let me just listen to this interview?
I feel like I'd be more comfortable just listening to the interview, just sort of doing a little research and checking up on them if I'm not quite ready to pull the trigger and buy just yet.
Right. And if you were that chiropractor and you got on any, it doesn't matter, any podcast or radio show, and the title to that was something that would attract your target audience, are you talking through that interview of buy, buy, buy? No, you're educating. You're becoming an educator and an advocate for your target audience, and that comes through in the interview. Recently, I interviewed Bob Berg on my show, and that becomes so huge with his Go Giver book concept and movement, really, is providing massive value. Well, when you can provide massive value to help your target audience solve their problem, and you've elevated now yourself from just a tweet, just a social media post, just a blog post, to, oh, I'm going to get on a podcast interview, as many as I can, make a goal of once a week, once a month, whatever. And now you've got your little presentation down pat, and you pick the car accident victim as an example, and how you can overcome, and some at-home remedies, or some really bad red flags that you better come in and get yourself checked out if this or this or this is happening. And that's teaching. So now this prospective patient is listening to that, and it's just a conversation, and they come off very warm, and they're like, hey, if you want to get our free report, PDF download, you can go over to our website and do that, and that might help you out as well. Well, now they've dipped their toe in the water, and they're like, oh, well, he sounded nice, she sounded good, it was educational. Yeah, I'm going to get that, because that one point they made was really important. So now you're drawing them in. And think of now how that relates to SEO. You can spend billions of dollars on SEO, or you can get yourself on some radio shows and podcasts. And now, don't you know that when that title of that podcast is produced, it includes things like your target audience and your keyword and your name. And so now, if you do all your normal SEO strategies, white hat, all of the good stuff based on that URL, guess what happens when they start Googling around for your name, your business, your keywords? Maybe that starts, getting indexed really high in Google. And which are they going to click on? The buy, buy, buy coupon one, or the authoritative interview? So now we start developing this strategy of authority positioning. Number one is the strategy. Number two, the asset is like this interview that we're just describing. How can you use it? Some of those SEO and social media strategies. So now you take that same URL. Hey, I was so humbled to and honored to be interviewed on XYZ show where I talked about da 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 da. Here's the link. Hope this helps. And they blast that out through their social media. Well, that's a whole lot better than just come in today for $10 off. So you now are positioning yourself as an authority. And what are you doing? You're just talking about what you know. Because if you are that chiropractor or that whatever, fill in the blank with what you do, you can talk about what you know at a drop of a hat. So do you see how now you're starting to develop that authority positioning, because you're talking and educating your target audience, and you're starting now to get some of these easy things. And so many times people think, oh, I don't know, being interviewed. it's so simple. You pick up the phone and you talk and you talk about what you know. Does that seem to now kind of starting to get a bit clear on developing that platform and then where you can use that in your business for your business?
Yeah, it is making sense, and it's, I mean, a lot of your different ideas are starting to sort of come together for me. In that, okay, well, like the old way would be, SEO, blog posts, fine, because there wasn't that much competition. But now there's more competition. We have to stand out, and the old way was there. It led to the moment of truth, right? Like this person talks about all the stuff. They're a chiropractor. They're a plumber. Moment of truth used to be, well, let's see if they can deliver. But now, because everyone does their research, everyone checks the Yelp pages, checks the Facebook pages, does the Google search. Now people are more, I guess, researched, more well informed. That now it's not the moment of truth, it's the zero moment of truth, the ZMOT, where before you might even know someone is coming into your business or signing up to your list, they're already doing that research on you. And so to make sure that people find you more than your competitors, or to make sure that when people are looking for a certain solution, they keep finding you, you make these assets like show up on a podcast once a week or once a month, so that way you're just building more and more ways for people to find you. And if they keep hearing about you, they know that you know your stuff. Is that about right?
Spot on. And again, thinking about all the normal ways we do our marketing and whatnot is, oh, let's get a backlink from this website, or let's get a mention, and do a guest blog post. And all that stuff is fine and dandy, except that when someone has the choice, they're going to pick, people are busy and they choose what they spend their moments of time on. So even if it is just that click, they're going to look, quickly and go, oh, this person, that's a good interview, and they're going to click on those kind of things. So now let's take it up a notch and bring it all together. I call it an authority positioning portfolio, kind of like a graphic designer that would show you all their work. Hey, look, here's all the work I've done and examples and websites and whatever. Well, now as a business owner, entrepreneur, we can develop our authority positioning portfolio, and you start putting together all of these assets like we're talking about. And now what if you also had, oh, I was interviewed on this certain podcast about this certain topic. What if you got that mentioned in the media, and you now go to your website, and your visitors come to your website and they see, oh, as seen on blah 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 news, or they click on the news page or the as seen on page, and it's like, oh, here's a link to their interview, here's a link to where they're mentioned in the media. Now that's elevation again, because that's third party proof. But here's an example. I recently interviewed someone that had years ago immigrated to the United States from, I think it was Israel, and they needed to get attorney and paperwork and all that kind of stuff done. And they got referred by their friends to two people. One person said, oh, my attorney is awesome. They give free consultations. Here's their card. And then this other friend said, here's this flyer to this attorney speaking downtown this weekend at the whatever symposium. You ought to go. And so great. Here's the card for the free consult. Here's the flyer for the free presentation with a lunch or whatever. And he's sitting there in the presentation with the attorney doing the keynote speech about immigration law. And he's going, this person is the deal. They're up on stage and they're holding up the copy of their book going, hey, I've got a few copies of my book in the back. Come ask any questions. I'll give you a copy of that. And we can set you up on a consultation. Well, he finds out the consultation was $100 or $200. And he's going, this person, couple $100, this person, free consultation. Which do you think he chose?
I think he would have chosen the presentation if he wasn't sure yet if he was ready to jump in. Is that right? Is that a good guess?
Well, you could flip a coin and go either way, and you can go, let's go with the free one. But if you could put a checkbox next to which one would have the highest perceived value and which advice would you trust the most, probably the needle would lean more toward the one that was the keynote speaker, had the book, and okay, you get what you pay for. So I'm going to pay this guy $100 and talk to him. And that's what he chose. The point is, it is proven, and I think everyone could nod their head and go, yeah, if someone is being introduced as a keynote speaker, Amazon bestselling author of, or whatever business you're in, and I don't care what business you're in, you could be that plumber, you could be that chiropractor, and if you have put out a book and now your target audience on your website or on when they Google your name and your business, they start seeing, oh, mentioned in the interviewed on, hey, Amazon bestselling book launched on whatever. Wow. And depending on your business, let's say that it is a higher ticket item. Now, this would never work if you sell something that is very nominally priced, because then you get into the, let's do a pay per click and you get them to your page and they click buy because it's some low amount. But so many people these days sell services that are either long term recurring or larger ticket items. And maybe there's a sales process there where you do schedule up a phone call and then there's a follow up to clarify. Well, in advance of that phone call, what would happen if they received either an email or a package in the mail that said, hey, I'm looking forward to our call in the next few days. Before we speak, would like to have you take a look at some of these items, and it'll help educate you on a little bit deeper on what I do, so that when we talk, we can spend our time on you really getting down to the bottom of how we can help you out. Number one, here's a link to a couple recent interviews where I was interviewed talking about problem solution. Number two, hey, here's some mentions in the media where I was picked up. And number three, here's a copy of my book recently published on Amazon, hit a bestseller list. And if that's a package in the mail and they're touching that book with the glossy cover, your picture and your logo going, huh, do you think they read every single word of that? Nope. Do you think they listen to every syllable of all the interviews? Nope. But the fact that you've got it is the wow factor, the shock and awe, the thud factor. It's like, huh. So now when you meet with them in person or on the phone or whatever, and even if you delivered it by email, hey, here's a link to my interview. Here's a link to my book on Amazon. And oh, by the way, here's a free copy of the digital version. And if you like the paperback, I'll send you a copy of that. Just pay shipping. When you have that now meeting with that prospect for the very first time by phone or in person, do you think they're viewing you as some slick car salesman kind of person, or someone that's know, like, and trust, a trusted authority, an expert? You're not going to try to strong arm them into doing the deal, but that sales process elevates now so much because they're being introduced to you in such a different light. You're seen as an authority. It comes through in your speech and your teaching. And now when you're asking them questions, hey, tell me about how this and that happens, whatever business you're in. Now when you're giving that advice of, here's the package I recommend, your chances of closing that deal is astronomically higher. Does it make it 100%? Nope. But out of 10, high value, high opportunity deals that you are talking to or pitching, maybe you close 4 or 5 out of them normally. Maybe this gets you to 6 or 7. Not massive, not 100%, but man, if you look at the bottom line, that is huge. And here's the thing that I want to ask is, have you, Robert, ever heard people say, oh, I would love to write a book, but I can't even write a dumb blog post?
Oh yeah, I hear that all the time. Like everyone wants a book, but everyone is also afraid of writing even one word of it.
So would this be a good time for me to kind of land the plane and go, all this authority positioning, I see how I can use it. It'd be great if I had blah, blah, blah. Now how do you get that book without writing a word?
Yeah, yeah, bring it home, bring it together. Because I think we mentioned that as we got ramped up here about how you have a way of showing people how to make a book without writing a single word of it, which sounds crazy because like even my name has 2 words, right? So I can make a book without even writing my name. So I mean, let's hear it.
All right. So I'll give you the example of a client I helped earlier this year, and this was just the perfect example, although it's happened over and over and over with clients the last few months. This is a lady that runs a nonprofit in Denver in the educational space. She helps school systems take their learning and go online, blended learning. Okay, so that's a kind of a high end kind of, and I had this conversation going, write a book. She's like, yeah, come on. I can't even write an email or a blog post. Are you kidding me? And I said, well, you told me a minute ago that you do presentations all the time in front of all these big school boards, and you talk about your business and how it helps. And she's like, I can do that in my sleep. So put a pin in that for a second and think, you as a business entrepreneur, online sales professional, could you, if someone said, hey, can you do a quick teleconference or a presentation at our chamber and talk about your business for 20 minutes? Everyone should be nodding their head going, of course. You interview me and ask me questions and give me leading questions, and I can just talk till the cows come home. So I asked her that, and she's like, of course, I could talk all day long about my business because that's my business. I said, okay, then how about if we get on the phone and I give you about a 30-minute strategy session where we really fine tune that target audience, competitive advantage, and I structure up a whole series of really hard hitting questions that I'm going to interview you on my show, Business Innovators Radio. And in that that series of questions, it's going to strategically take a listener or a reader through the process of, yeah, this is a problem. Oh, I can't get to the solution because I've got this and this and this hurdle. And oh, she's saying the solution is this and this. And hey, that's a pretty good process. So if I give you 15 or 20 questions ahead of time and you can kind of review what you're going to say, and then we jump on the phone and I interview you, could you talk about those questions and answer them? And she's like, yeah, all day long. I said, okay, good. Then we're going to do that. And then in the interview, which takes about an hour to an hour and a half, because frankly, we could probably talk 4.5 hours because it's your business. It's what you're good at. We're going to record that interview and I'm going to take that MP3 and transcribe it. I'm going to clean it up and take out the ums and ahs and make sure the grammar flows. And boom, there's your book.
Cool. And I mean, there's a few steps, a few moving parts there, but I mean, on the high level view of it, I mean, pretty simple. Nothing that's too rocket science. And so, and from a lot of what I'm hearing from you today, Mike, like a lot of what you've said today are maybe things that we might have like heard a little bit about, but never sort of all in one place. And what I like about some of the plans you've laid out for people is that there's like a lot of things combined, right? It's not just make a blog post, it's also put it on social media, right? It's not just show up on a podcast, or it's not just make a TV appearance, but also mention that, link back to that, so that it goes on there. And I like how, so if I'm hearing this right, so the solution, if people say that they can't write, they're not writers, then the solution is to hop on a teleconference or do a Chamber of Commerce presentation and plan on 20 minutes and think of 15 to 20 leading questions that someone will ask you. That way, it just sort of flows out of you, and that way it kind of stays on track and is also concise. And so, teleconference, 20 minutes, 15 to 20 leading questions, record it, transcribe it, clean it up. That comes out with a book. Is that about right?
That's exactly right. And here's the deal. There is actually packages right now online that you can see, write your book in 3 hours and get it published. And you can buy those kind of packages and get 47 bullet points of exactly what to do. And guess what happens? You're sitting there like a deer in the headlights going, I understand every step, but I don't know what to do. And I'd worry that I'm not saying it in the right way, and the right strategy, and the right focus. And then wait a minute. When you say formatted for Kindle, and that's different than for paperback Amazon. And then what about the cover? And oh my word. So people logically can understand everything there, but they just don't do it. So that's where my 3-hour authority publishing package comes in, which is in 3 hours of your time, it's done. Me and my team are doing everything in the back end I'm going to walk you through setting up the questions. I'm going to do the interview for you and with you. I'm going to do the transcription, the formatting, have a professional book cover designed, get it all published, run a bestseller campaign so that it hits bestseller status in 1 or 2 categories, do the media releases. You've got the interview on Business Innovators Radio. So you're sitting here going, well, how the heck do I get on podcasts? Done. How do I get media? Done. How do I get the book? Done. And in 3 hours of your time, now it's like in 3 different sections. So like the pre-interview strategy session would be 45 minutes and the interview would be an hour and a half. And then some proofing throughout would be about 45 minutes of your time. But in about a 60-day window of time, in only 3 hours of your total time, everything here is done. And you've got this authority positioning portfolio of these assets like the media mentions, the interview, the book. And then I give you a one-on-one coaching session to train you on the authority selling system, which is like what we touched on, how to use this. Now that you've got this, how do you use it in your business to best get you in front of the target audience, to best close more business, to get more interested parties? So that's it in a nutshell. And it really does help people that are like, I know I need it. I don't have time. I might be able to stumble through it, but it'll take me 6 months, and I probably will just let it dwindle away because I got frustrated along the way.
So it sounds like it gets this powerful end result, but it also sort of gets people around all of the ways they would have gotten stuck if they try to do it themselves, they try to do it without a plan, if they try to do it without your plan. And so where can people claim that? Where can people get that publishing package from you?
Well, you could start with just reading the book, Authority Selling. It's on Amazon. Tom Hopkins endorsed it, and you can go to authorysellingbook.com breadcrumbs.com and get a free copy. You just pay $7 shipping, but that's a free paperback copy. It's 162 pages, and read everything we just talked about here, and how you could put that in your business and how you can use it. All of this, it gets into a lot of marketing and sales psychology as well. And then if you wanted to contact me to look at one of these packages, the easiest way is my website, marketinghuddle.com, and then you can just take a look through what I offer. But a lot of people, let's think about it. What do you want to start with first? Listen to an interview. Let's read some information. So I'm kind of modeling for you what I'm saying you should do, which is you're listening to this interview. Next step, just take a look at the book. Go to authoritysellingbook.com, see if it resonates with you, and grab a copy, and it'll be shipped right out to you.
Awesome. So, I mean, that would be worrisome, right? If you were teaching all this authority stuff but not doing it. So I'm
Yep.
super glad that you are. So everyone should drop literally everything they're doing right now and go to authoritysellingbook.com to get that free plus shipping offer of the book. And then if you're even more curious about the other things Mike has going on, then go right now to marketinghuddle.com. So authoritysellingbook.com and marketinghuddle.com. So thanks for stopping by the show today, Mike, and sharing your expertise on a lot of these small moving parts that sort of add up to a lot of really powerful things, especially like you said, like if someone's hoping to get more clients or get more traffic or more sales or a bigger list or all those things, be an authority, have lots of these things out there so that people are doing their homework on you, which it sounds like this day and age they will do that more and more. Have all these authority pieces out there. So authoritysellingbook.com, and thanks for stopping by the show today, Mike.
Hey, thank you, Robert. Appreciate the opportunity.
Have you had a chance to rate and review the show yet? If not, go right now to robertplank.com/iTunes, click the View in iTunes button, and click the Ratings tab. We would really appreciate a 5-star rating or whatever you think is fair, plus a quick 1-sentence review to tell us how we're doing. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.